Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our home buying conversation. It's the home buying journey brick by brick. And home buying is not an event, it is a journey. And so all of the people that are here with us today talking, they are pivotal pieces along the way in this journey. And so they're all going to talk for just a couple of minutes about their part in the process. And we're going to start with William, who is a buyer's agent on the LS Dream team. And William.
Thank you, Lisa. Hey, I am William Chappell. I am with the LS Dream team. Lisa brought me on about 3 years ago. We've done about 50 transactions since then, and it has been a blast. The first brick in your home buying journey is selecting an agent. Who it is that you select, how it is that you select them can make the difference between a good transaction, a smooth transaction, or one that's kind of rough. I hope that I've made mine smoother for my clients. The good agent, most importantly, is your trusted advisor, your most trusted advisor in a impactful, meaningful, and probably your most expensive investment that you're going to make. A good agent has expertise in the specific area you're looking for, also the specific price range you're looking for. He has experience with the transaction. It has good relationships with the other people in the transaction. You'll hear from some of those people today. A good agent is someone who works with you in your specific area. He does that full time and every day. Why is that important? Because the market changes so much. Just on a weekly basis, you can have the changes in the market. We can go from some place where there's multiple listings on a certain house, and the next week, that same type of house, same price of house is not going to get multiple listings. When you're on top of it and you know the market, you know the historical sales, you know the present sales, and you have a good idea of what the future sales market is going to be like, you can anticipate how many offers are going to be made on that home. Like I said, and most important, your agent should be your beast. This is in the negotiation process. Your agent should be able to negotiate very strongly on your behalf. Also, what I do is I like to play the devil's advocate with you so that you can understand what the seller or the listing agent is feeding back to me and how we're going to respond. But you need to know that a good agent is going to fight for every dollar in the transaction as if it was their own. One thing I do want to mention, this is a new thing in Washington State. It's required by law since January 1st, and that is a buyer's agency agreement. That agreement is a agreement between you and me that tells you how I'm getting compensated and just lays out the responsibilities I have to you and the responsibilities you have to me. So that's required. If you do find another agent that does not bring that up or does not want you to, doesn't offer you to sign it, they're trying to skirt the law somehow. So it's just to bring more clarity to the transaction. I do want to introduce you to the second brick in the process, and that is your lender, Maurice Barnes. Wow. He is one of our valued lenders. Love to have him come on up here. We like him because he's so friendly and good with our clients, and he is kind of our miracle worker. Maurice,
thank you, Will.
Give it a go.
Thank you for the introduction. I think I'm the first brick though, really, but it's okay. No worries. No, but my name is Maurice Barnes. I'm with Cross Country Mortgage, based out of Seattle. Been a licensed lender now for 3.5 years, almost 4 here pretty soon. Learned a lot since getting licensed and getting into the industry. Definitely been really fun. My whole job is based around figuring out your buying power or relaying that to you and making sure the bank will accept your loan. That's my whole importance. A lot of that is done by figuring out your debt to income ratio, simply taking half of your gross monthly income, subtracting that by your minimum monthly payments for any installment loans or any revolving credit. We tend to use 0.5% for student loans unless you have a minimum payment on there as well. So that's just the formula real quick, but we can go over that later. The importance of a pre-approval. Super important to be pre-approved. One, to know your buying power, right? You want to be able to understand the type of home you can buy, where you should be looking, where your agent should be bringing you, because you want to make sure that, we're on it and we're on time and we're not really wasting anybody else's time. Time is money, especially in the essence of like today's market and where we are currently. The cost of a pre-approval, totally free. Doesn't cost you a dime. I always say you should really inquire early. If you know that in the next 90 to 120 days, you're thinking of moving and buying a home, you probably want to start talking to a lender early. If you're not ready and you know, like, hey, I want to buy a house, but I know I for sure don't qualify, you should still reach out to a lender, because we can teach you. We can teach you what you need to do, give you the blueprint, and then follow up. I've had plenty of clients that have done that, and they've actually all gotten into homes over time. And it works a lot better once you have the blueprint and you understand step by step what you should and shouldn't be doing. One thing I will tell you is, if you are planning on purchasing a home, don't apply for any new credit. Don't open up any new lines of credit. Don't pay your credit cards off in full. I think you really should reach out to me before you do any of that, because we can figure out how to really optimize your score at that point. Negotiation strategies. So it's really important to have that pre-approval, and even more so an advanced approval in certain markets. That way we can close early if possible. Normally it takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days to close on a home loan. If you have an advanced approval, we can close in as quick as 21 days or sooner. It's really important to get that done. A lot of that just revolves around us getting 2 years of W-2 history, if you're a W-2 employee, last 2 pay stubs, and figuring out that income. We'll also need bank statements, things like that. If you're 1099, we'll need 2 years of taxes. And that's really like the importance of that stuff as far as like getting the advanced approval. The length of time that the pre-approvals last, it's really just depending on like your credit report and what you've opened up in that time. The credit report is good for 90 to 120 days. The reason why it's 90 to 120, it just depends on the length of time it takes you to actually purchase and how long your contract is on the home. And then I think I covered everything. I covered my top points.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maurice. That's really good.
First break.
So, thank you very much, Maurice. He's absolutely right. With a pre-approval, it's like a silver bullet for when we start going out there shopping for houses. When we know exactly how much you can afford, how much you can spend, it gives a better idea of where to look in the market. Now, that doesn't mean we're only going to look there. Depending on the market, if the market's a little bit slow and we're making offers below list, we may actually look at some places that are higher with the anticipation of negotiating that price down. The housing market has changed a lot over the last 10 to 15 years. You know, for just to have doors opened, it's not that hard. You can look on the MLS, find the houses you're looking for. Open houses are almost available for almost every house. You can go see them yourselves and just find the house you want. But by relying on your agent, I can open up doors for canceled listings, expired listings, FSBOs for sale by owner. We can do a lot of different things in that regard. You still need an agent to dig through those. The most important thing you can do, though, at this stage or with this brick, is to get out there and look at homes. Touch it, feel it, smell it. By doing that, by letting yourself become emotionally available to have a reaction to the home, then I can have a better idea what it is you're looking for. I can help dig below your must-haves, below your wants, and below your must-not-haves to get to that really deeper why. Maybe I can bring other things to the table that you haven't even considered that you're looking for. So maybe that a different style of kitchen or a different style of backyard, or even a different price range if that's what it is. It's all based on market conditions. I was doing some research the other day, and 25% of the homes I've sold over the past 3.5 years, I found when I was showing it to someone else, and I knew my clients so well that I called them up and said, you know what, this is actually going to be a perfect house for you. And so put them together and find that house. So it isn't even one that you necessarily found. The next step in the process, the next brick in the process, if it will, is negotiation. Once you find that house, we need to discuss how we're going to make that offer, how we're going to position that offer to be most attractive to the seller. Now, I do a lot of groundwork on the back end, talking to the seller, talking to the listing agent to find out what's their motivation. What are they looking for in the offer they're going to accept? A lot of times it's not about money. There's a lot of different factors that play into it. A money is is a big factor. Earnest money, we'll get to that in a second, is a factor. Some of your review dates, a neighborhood review date or an HOA review date, can be a small factor. Your inspection is a factor, and we'll talk extensively about that in a little bit. And also your closing date. Sometimes, as Mo was saying, sometimes we can close earlier. Sometimes they actually want to close later or have a rent buyback. I mentioned earnest money. What is earnest money? This is something that's required by law in Washington. The contract is not valid without an exchange of value. That's where the earnest money comes in. Earnest money can be looked at as your penalty if you break the contract. Now, there's going to be lots of places I place in the contract that allow you, give you permission to leave the contract. And in those cases, you're going to get your earnest money back. But if you break the contract, earnest money goes to the seller. Now, if you continue with the contract and finally, end up purchasing that house, earnest money then is applied to closing costs and then to your down payment. Okay. Once we get into the contract, once we reach what they call a meeting of the minds and we agree on a mutual contract, we're going to have a few places that are kind of like exits for you. If you don't like something in the way the process is going, you can bail. The first one, I'm going to talk about 4 of them. There's actually a myriad of them, and they all apply to specific situations. But there's 4 that really apply to everybody. There's the neighborhood review or the HOA review. That's a time period where you're going to look at the rules, regulations of the HOA, look at the neighborhood. If you don't like it, you can bail. You'll get your earnest money back. Typically, nowadays, we're actually reducing those to very, very minimal time, sometimes even eliminating them. Not so much on the HOA, but neighborhood review, we kind of eliminate. Because the next big one, which is the big one, and that's the inspection. Your inspection is we used for you to go through the home with a third party, and we'll have Nathan coming up in a little bit to talk about that. That goes through the home, look at everything that could be wrong with the home. Is it going to work for you? Though the inspection is structured to negotiate at the end of the inspection better terms or better payment, or whether you even want to buy the home or not, it also can be used because of the way it's written. You can use it to just exit the contract at any time you want. The third biggest one is financing. If you don't get financing, you're not going to be forced to buy the home. The final piece is the appraisal. The appraisal is where your bank is going to do an estimate of value, similar to inspection, but they're really looking, is it worth the price you're paying? And at that point is another point of negotiation, whether you can either negotiate the price down if it doesn't appraise for value, or you can exit the contract. Outside of these reasons, or the specific few that I didn't mention, if you break the contract, you lose your earnest money. Now, I, as your agent, and that's one of my main responsibilities, is to make sure that you never lose your earnest money without knowing about it. It's never going to be a surprise. Once you submit the offer, the seller can either counter your offer or reject it outright. If they counter, you are free to counter or accept it. This is what I had mentioned before, mutual acceptance or meeting of the minds. So I mentioned our inspector. Lisa and I chose among numerous inspectors who wanted to work with us. We chose Sound Mind Inspection because they are really, really honest and working in your benefit. There's plenty of inspectors out there that will kind of try to appease us and tell our client what we want them to hear. We rely on Nathan to unfortunately tell our clients the bare, honest truth and unbiased opinion. And actually, because we're working in your best interest, and that works for us as well. But before he speaks, I want to give a shout out to Hector. He's a title and escrow representative. He's going to speak a little bit about opening escrow. That's one of my functions. And then the two distinct functions of title and then escrow in the closing process. Hector, come on up.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction.
No worries.
Hector here, title and escrow representative. And, so as very well said, once you guys have the signed around purchase and sell, Lisa or will reach out and say, hey, we got this deal, set it up. So that's when the process starts about clearing title and escrow. Well, first of all, what is title? Because, vast majority of people say, what is this fee that I'm paying for title. What is title insurance? So I always like to explain it, super easy. And title and escrow, both of them together, is the process of transferring. We do all the paperwork to transfer title from the seller to the buyer. In a nutshell, that's what we do, and we insure it. So title, I always like to explain it, by opposing to like a car insurance or hazard insurance. So the car insurance kicks in from day you pay moving forward, of course, if you have an accident or whatnot. Title insurance, once you pay, meaning once it closes, it goes backwards, okay? So it'll cover all the previous owners, all the titles, making sure everything transferred properly. We cover fraud. We cover, there's actually 32 coverages on titles, which is a lot to go through. But we go backwards. Title officers will go back in the chain of owners all the way back to, usually until another deal closed with which the insured. So we'll trust the previous title company. Escrow is escrow is the one that's going to work on the title report. So they will. The first person you're going to hear from is the escrow officer. They'll reach out to you as a buyer, saying, "Hey, we need all this information." And then they start clearing out title. Just clearing out meaning there's going to be some loans from the seller that need to be paid off. So we'll reach out to the lender, request all that information. And so once all the information is gathered, we will call the parties to come in to sign the documents. The buyers will usually have a generous stack of documents to sign. Sellers will just do like a 15-page signing. And so once everybody signs, we, balance with the lenders to make sure all the numbers are correctly. We send all the payoffs, pay the proceeds to the seller, and send everything to the recording office. Once we get recording numbers, that's when it's officially closed. And what we do, so we want to make Will and Lisa shine. So we'll reach out to them. Hey, the deal closed. So they will call you and, hey, I got the key. So come on over, happy buyer, move in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. Hey, I want you to hear from Nathan from Sound Mind Inspections. He's going to go through the inspection process and tell you what he does. How you doing, sir?
Thank you, mister. Appreciate it.
Alrighty.
All right. So, the home inspection process. Again, I'm Nathan with SoundMind Home Inspections. I gave everybody here my card, but if you want to get a hold of us for the people at home watching, our number is 425-876-3762. You can always get a hold of us there. As these guys were saying, this is probably going to be the biggest purchase of your life. I am here to make sure that you are able to make the most informed decision over the physical aspect of the home. So I am looking at everything from the roof to the crawl space and the dirt around the house. A few of the things that we also offer at SoundMind Home Inspections is we do a lot of sewer scopes. And there's a big misconception out there that when people are buying brand new houses, they don't need home inspections. A lot of times I come up with a list just as long on a brand new construction home as a 100-year-old home. Unfortunately, builders are only as good as the subcontractors they hire that day. And so I'm looking for damage. I'm looking for things that aren't safe. I'm looking for pests and rodents. There's a myriad of things that we're looking for on every home inspection every single day. Again, it's going to be the biggest purchase of your life. And so it is worth the $500 or $600 or even $700 that you're going to pay for a home inspection. It will save thousands. And as William already said today, it's also a good way to get out of the contract, right? And so if it becomes a huge issue, this is always a way that you can go back to William and say, hey, look, this foundation is not something that we are willing to fix at this point. what do we do now? And as William said, there's always contingencies. There's always a way to get your earnest money back and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very important process. Please let us know if you have any questions. And after the video is over, I'll be answering everybody else's questions. So thank you, Mr.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end. The final brick. It's never the final brick, but the final brick of what we're going to be talking about today. And that is the final walkthrough. You know, you're done. You're there. Your loan has been funded or going to be funded. Your appraisal is done. We've been through the inspection. Your signing appointment's probably for tomorrow or the next day. That's when we do the final walkthrough. The final walkthrough is where you and I get together. We're going to walk through the home. We're going to look and pay attention, especially those inspection items that we requested to be fixed. Make sure that they were done properly. Make sure that they were done with a licensed contractor if we requested that. We're going to look to make sure that the contract items that we have in the contract are done. The house needs to be clean. At least in the contracts I do, I always check the box that says, give it to be clean. Also, all personal property is to be gone. Also, in general, the home should be in the same condition, if not better, than when we showed it. If it's not, this isn't really a time for second thoughts, but it is a time where you can come back and say, hey, you did not fulfill your contract. It can be difficult at this point to renew it, or to back out of it, but it is a time where we can really leverage the buyer to do the things they promised to deliver. Once the final walkthrough is done, then we move on to signing. By contract, you do not own the home typically until 9 p.m. of the day of closing. Now, almost all sellers and listing agents will allow us to take possession once it's recorded with the county. But technically, 9 p.m. that day. Recording, as was mentioned earlier, recording is the process where the county actually puts it in their ledger. It comes after the loan is funded, after title and escrow is done. They send it to the county recording. I'll probably tell you when that happens too. But then we wait for county. Sometimes it gets to the bottom of the pile and we just have to wait for it to drift up. But that's another story. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. I'm going to turn this over to Lisa for some final words. But thank you. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, Lisa. How are you?
Thank you, guys. That was so much fun. Tons of really good information. As you can see, there are a lot of bricks along the journey of home buying, and all of these people help. There is a survey on the back, so if you guys could fill that out, that would be great. Leave your info if you want to hear from any of us, and enjoy some food and drinks. And we are the LS Region.
Yay! Thank you all for coming. Take care.